Hello everyone, welcome to Helm of Science. So today the West Bengal joint examinations have taken place and I know majority of you students have given the examination, because of which you might be having certain doubts or you might have attempted certain questions which you want to know the answers of or the solutions to, which is why today's video is being uploaded for you so that you can analyze what went wrong or analyze the correct amount of marks that you will get in the question paper. So without doing any more delay, let's just get straight into the questions. Before we start discussing the questions, if you would ask me that what is my review on the paper, I would say as far as chemistry is concerned, the paper was quite direct and straight cut. There were few complexities here and there, but then the majority of the paper on a whole was pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Okay, so in today's video, I shall be discussing the 1 mark questions that was given to you, because it's not possible to discuss all the questions in one single video, but I can assure you that I will be discussing all the questions in a very short span of time. Today I will be discussing few questions that I have chosen from the paper, and the rest of the remaining questions I shall be solving later. Coming to the first question, which says cyclo-18 carbon is an allotrope of carbon with molecular formula C18. It is a ring of 18 carbon atoms connected by single and triple bonds. The total number of triple bonds in this structure are. Now, in such kind of questions, if you do not know the structure, there is of no use, because you will not be able to solve the question anyhow. So just to tell you how the structure looks like, let me just show it to you. The structure looks something like this. This is the structure for C18 as mentioned to you. Now see, there are single and triple bond structure. It is a single and triple bond structure, right? Now the question to you was the number of triple bonds present. So just keep counting. It's pretty simple. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So there are 9 triple bonds in the structure. Your correct option would have been option number A. Right? Moving on to the next question. The next question says that you have to identify the correct resonating structures given to you. So first let me draw the structure. What is it? It is basically a para-nitro dimethyl aniline kind of structure, right? So this is the one. Now, if I consider this to be the original structure, then what should be, so whenever we are drawing a structure that is itself, it is considered as one of its resonance structure on its own. So the original structure is also a resonating structure. Original structure is also considered as a resonating structure. So you have to include it in your answer. So on that basis, your option number 1 becomes correct. Why do I say so? Because see, benzene is a aromatic structure with alternate single and double bonds, right? So I have drawn the structure like this. It's a resonance hybrid, right? So the structure can be as well as drawn in the manner as option number 1. Okay, so the bonds could have been placed like that as well. There is nothing wrong, correct, which is given to you. So this structure is correct because here all the valencies of every element is satisfied. Nitrogen having 3 bonds is satisfied. Here the valency of nitrogen is satisfied. Here oxygen valency is satisfied. Here oxygen valency is satisfied, right? So this is the original structure which should be considered in the resonance structure as well. Now if I show the resonance structure to this, when the lone pair and the bonds migrate, then this should be like that, right? So my resonance structure should have been this one. Me, a positive charge here, double bond, NO minus, O minus and a plus charge here. So this matches with my option number 3. So 1 and 3 are absolutely correct. Okay. Now why is not number 2 correct? Because number 2 shows that nitrogen has 5 bonds, which is not possible. Right? And number 4 is incorrect. Why? Because if the lone pair of nitrogen is migrating and if this bond is coming here, then obviously one bond has to open. Otherwise, the resonance structure is not complete. So the answer would be option number C, 1 and 3. Clear? Moving on to the next question. Okay. The next question says that for a spontaneous reaction at all temperatures, which of the following is correct, right? So we have to say that which of the following expressions are correct. Now, what do you mean by spontaneous reaction? That is, delta G Gibbs free energy has to be negative. That is the condition for spontaneity of a reaction, right? Now we know delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Yes or no? Right? Now we have to go through the options. So this has to be negative. That should be kept in mind. Now what are the options said? Both delta H and delta S are positive. Right? Now if delta S is positive, suppose, then this entire thing is negative, fine. If this is positive, now we don't know, nowhere it is mentioned whether this positive value of delta H is greater than the positive value of delta S or not. If it is greater, then the effective delta G would be positive, so it should not be a spontaneous reaction. Option B should also be incorrect. Why? Because delta H is positive, fair enough. Delta S is negative in the second option. If it is negative, then the whole thing becomes positive. Then delta G again becomes positive, so option 2 is not correct. Option 3 will be the correct answer. Why? Because it says delta H has to be negative and delta S has to be positive. If delta S is positive, then minus T delta S part is negative, and also you have a negative value here, then your overall delta G becomes negative, and that is the condition for spontaneity. So your option C would be the correct answer. Why not option D? Because delta S, if it is negative, then negative and negative becomes positive. Right? Now, it is not mentioned whether this positive value is lesser than delta H or not, or greater than delta S. What if the positive value is greater than delta H, even though delta H is negative? Then the delta G will become positive, right? So, the option would be 49. The most preferable option would be option number C. Correct? Moving on to the next question. Next question says, it's a very pretty simple and straightforward question. Only the calculation part might become a little clumsy, but then the question is pretty simple. An element crystallizes in a body-centered cubic lattice. Whenever it is a BCC lattice, your Z value would be 2. Right? Okay. The edge length is 200 picometers. So your A is 200 picometer, meaning 10 to the power of minus 12 meter. Right? Okay, then the density is, density is mentioned as 5 gram per cc, right? Now, since it is gram per cc, that is centimeter, so let's just transfer it to centimeter. So, this should be 10 to the power minus 10 centimeter, correct? Calculate the number of atoms in 100 gram of this element. First, find out the mass. Using the formula, rho is equal to Z into M by Na into A cube. What do we get? 5 equal to gram per cc equal to 2 into molecular mass in gram by 6. I'm just taking an average, 6.023. I'm just taking it to be 6. And A cube would be 200 cube into 10 to the power minus 10 whole cube. Correct? This should be the form. Now, 10 to the power minus 10 whole cube means 10 to the power 9 minus 30, right? Minus 30 and plus 23 would be minus 7, correct? Okay, now this should be cancelled out, so this should be 1 and this should be 3 here. 200 cube is 2 2s are 4, 4 2s are 8, 8 and there should be 6 zeros, correct? So 8 into 10 to the power 6 minus 7. So 10 to the power minus 1, right? 10 to the power minus 1 into 3 into 8. So it is 24 into 10 to the power minus 1 means 2.4. And 2.4 into 5 would give me 12. 12 is the mass. Correct? Now this is, so 12 gram contains how many atoms? 6 into 10 to the power 23 atoms. So 100 gram would contain how many atoms? 6 into 10 to the power 23 by 12 into 100. Okay, so this should be 2, this should be 50. So 5 into 10 to the power 24, that is option number D, should be correct answer. If you have marked option number C without checking the power of the 10, then you have done a big mistake. Alright, so the correct option should be option number D. Clear? Now moving on to the next question. Now the next question says molecular velocities of two gases at the same temperature. Just mention that, keep in mind that same temperature has been mentioned, so you have to be careful regarding that. Has U1 and U2 as their velocities, their masses are M1 and M2. What is the correct expression? That is your question, right? So how do we proceed? It's a very simple question. If you know the formula, it just takes 2 seconds to do it. So how can we relate molecular velocity to mass? It is root over of 3 RT by molecular mass. Now U2 would be root over of 3 RT. I am writing as T and not T1 and T2 because the temperature is same. It has been mentioned. So we can write from here U1 squared is equal to 3 RT by M1 and U2 squared equal to 3 RT by M2. Dividing U1 square by U2 square, what do we get? We get M2 by M1, right? So if this is mentioned somewhere, just check it out. So we can write it, we can also write it as M1 U1 squared equal to M2 U2 squared. Is this form mentioned, anyone? Yes, option number D. It is already mentioned. Okay. So that should be your correct option. Clear? So option number D should be the correct option. Now moving to the next question. When 20 gram of naphthoic acid C11H8O2 is dissolved in 50 gram benzene, a freezing point depression of 2 Kelvin is observed. It's a direct application of formula. There's nothing that you have to do. So it is already mentioned that your delta TF is 2 Kelvin, right? And your Van 't Hoff factor, you have to calculate. You have been given the Kf value, which is 1.72 Kelvin kg mole inverse. And the solvent is 50 gram. And the solute is 20 gram. So what do we know? That delta TF is equal to I into Kf into M, where M stands for molality. And how is molality defined? It is defined as number of moles of solute. In this case is that acid, and divided by mass of solvent in kg. Right? So first find this one out, this part, the molality part. So number of moles of solute would be, given weight of solute is 20 gram and the molecular mass would be 12 into 11 plus 8 plus 32. 172. Okay, and mass of solvent would be, given mass is 50 gram by 1000 because it should be in kg. Correct? So just substitute the formula. So 2 Kelvin would be equal to I into 1.72 into, which is Kelvin kg mole inverse, into this thing. If you solve, you will get it as, wait a minute, I'll just tell you how much you should get it as. Okay, divided by 0.05 would be 2.32. So you would get 2.32 as your answer. So what should I get now? So I would be 2 divided by 1.72 into 2.32. Fair enough? So my answer would be, your answer would come out to be roughly around, I would be 0.5. That is option number A would be your correct answer. I hope it's clear, the solution. right? Now moving on to the next question that is given to you. So the next question is from kinetics, which says that the rate constant or the rate of the reaction in presence of catalyst as compared to presence of not having a catalyst is 10 times. So in the presence of a catalyst, you have an increase of 10 times of the reaction rate, right? Now, what is to be done? So this part has been mentioned as 10, correct? EA by, so we can write 8.314 into 2000 Kelvin. So we can calculate the activation energy from here. How? Put ln 10 equal to EA by 8.314 into 2000. Right? This should be my form. So that would give you ln 10 is 2.30 into 8.314 into 2000. You can also use 8 as your calculation value because just for the simplicity sake. It comes out to be roughly around this much. Alright. Now you have to find out that in the presence of catalyst, the rate constant has been mentioned to you. So in the absence of catalyst, what is the rate constant that has to be done? Right. So what can we do in that case? So in presence of catalyst, Kc, that is, it is 4 into 10 to the power minus 4. In the absence of catalyst, it is rate constant is Nc. Now we can put the value 38,287 by 8.314 into 2000, right? Solve this factor out, the e power, and you will be getting, you would get 9.99, that is approximately 10, right? So you do not have to do so much also. I am doing it, I'm just breaking it down each and every step. I'll tell you the shortcut also what to do. So this would 9.99, so roughly around 10. So your KNC would be 4 into 10 to the power minus 4 by 10, which would be 4 into 10 to the power of minus 5. So that brings us to the option number C. Now you could have also done Kc by Knc is equal to 10 because see effectively the value is coming to 10 only after calculation, right? So that also could have been done if you wanted to avoid such a long calculation. Alright, going to question now, the next question, that is under the same reaction conditions, initial concentration of 1.386 mole decimeter cube of a substance becomes half in 40 seconds and 20 seconds through first order and zero order. So for that you need to know the relations of first order and zero order reactions, the half-life reactions. So for first order reaction, we know that T half is equal to 0.693 by K. That is the rate constant, right? And for the second zero order reaction, T half is equal to initial concentration by 2K. So it is said that for the first order reaction, it is becoming half in 40 seconds. So your rate constant would be 0.693 by 40. This is K1. This would come out to be 0.693 divided by 40 would be 0.017. Second inverse. And in this case, your rate constant would come out to be A0, which was initial concentration was 1.386 divided by 2 into T half was 20 seconds, I think. Yes, it was. So 1.386 divided by 40 would give us 0.034. Now just direct application of formula which is mentioned that K1 by K0 would be how much? So K1 by K0 would come out to be 0.017 divided by 0.034. It should be 0.5. So our answer would be 0.5 mole inverse decimeter. Now one more thing. See, in option A it is mentioned mole inverse decimeter cube, and in option B it is given mole decimeter minus 3. How do we know? See, now comes the importance of units. A0 is what? Concentration. So we can write mole per decimeter cube. And this should be in seconds. So this comes out to be mole decimeter minus 3, second inverse. Right? Now when we are dividing K1 by K0, second gets cancelled. So your unit would be mole per decimeter cube. So your option number B would be correct and not A. So it was just a simple tricky question just to confuse you and nothing else. Alright, now moving on to the next question that says the solubility question. It was said solubility products of the salts Mx, Mx2 and M3X are the values are mentioned. So the solubility order would be. Now, if you know the formula and the definition of solubility product, this should be a very easy question for you. So let's see how to do it. For Mx, if it dissociates, what would we get? We would get M plus and X minus, right? The Ksp mentioned in this case is 4 into 10 to the power minus 8. Now, so we can write the concentration of this is S, or solubility of this is S, and this is also S supposedly. So my Ksp should be S square, or my S should be root over of Ksp. So root over of 4 into 10 to the power minus 8. Right? This should be my solubility in this case. Correct? So this would come out to be 2 into 10 to the power minus. Moving on to the next salt, Mx2. Mx2 would be dissociating to form M2 plus 2x minus. So this is S, then this is 2s. So in this case, Ksp would be S into 2s to the power of 2, or it should be 4s cubed, right? So my S would be, Ksp value was for this one, I think it was 3.2 to 10 into 10 to the power of minus 14 or something. Yes, divided by 4 and cube root of this, right? So this should be my S. Now, how would we do it? So this would be 0.8 into 10 to the power of minus 14, and we would be doing the cube root of it, right? So let's keep it for some time, and let's do the next one first. What does the next one have to say? It is M3X. M3X is dissociating to form M3 plus 3x minus. So giving us S and 3s. Ksp for that was given as 2.7 into 10 to the power of minus 15. So this would be S into 3s cube. So this should come out to be 27 S to the power of 4. Right? So this would come out to be 27. So this should be 0.1 into 10 to the power of minus 15. 10 to the power of minus 15, and to the power of 1 by 4 should be my S value, right? So upon calculation, the cube root 1 value comes out to be 2.2 into 10 to the power minus 5, and the quad root value comes to be 1 into 10 to the power of minus 4. Now just see, this is 2 into 10 to the power of minus 4. So obviously the highest would be which one? This one, 2 into 10 to the power minus 4. So your first would be Mx, then would be 1 into 10 to the power minus 4, which is M3x, and then would be Mx2, 10 to the power minus 5. That matches your option number D. So this would be your correct answer. Is it clear? It's a very, very simple question. Just you have to apply the logic, and just the plain logic of calculation, and it should be done. It's a very simple question and a very simple approach to it. The next question says, which of the structures has delocalized electrons, right? So the option would be ozone, O3. Why? Because delocalized means you have to have lone pairs and or pi bonds and simultaneously sigma bonds for the electrons to get transferred, right? For ozone, the structure is something like that. So in this case, there is delocalization. Why? Because the lone pair can move from here and this bond can move from here. So the resonance structure would be OO minus double bonded O, right? So this is the structure. So delocalization is possible, but in a carbon monoxide, structure is this, right? So in this case, there is no delocalization. And for HCN has this structure. Again, no delocalization because there is pi bond present, but there is no simultaneous sigma bond or lone pair to initiate the resonance in this case, right? So the option would be option number A. Your correct option would be option number A. The next question is a pretty simple question. The structure of H3O pluses, use your VSEPR theory concept. What would be it? The central atom would be oxygen. So 6. Your substituent would be 3 valence electrons of central atom. Then the substituent is 3 and minus 1 because of the positive charge. So this is 8 and it should be tetrahedral. Right? So it should look like this. It should look like this. So the shape of the molecule would be tetrahedral. That is option number A. Okay. Now this should look as the most probable answer, but it is not, because the structure is tetrahedral, but you have been asked to give the shape. So the shape of the structure is pyramidal. See, it's very evident. It is a pyramidal structure, right? Just like a pyramid. So your option would be option number B. So since the word shape is mentioned, we will be using the pyramidal option, right? Now moving to the next question, that indicate the number of unpaired electrons in the following cases. So we'll quickly do that question. K3 FeCN6, K4 FeCN6 are there. So K3 FeCN6 meaning this is 3 plus, so this should be 3 minus, so Fe is in plus 3 state and low spin. And K4 FeCN6 means this is 4 plus, so this should be 4 minus, so Fe is in plus 2 state, that is also low spin. So plus 3 means D5 system, plus 2 means D6 system, low spin and octahedral, so it should be T2G5, right? And low spin and octahedral meaning T2G6. So there are no unpaired electrons, 0 in case of K4 FeCN6, and in case of K3 FeCN6, the number of unpaired electrons would be 1. So it's a very simple question from coordination geometry or coordination chemistry. Then the next question is, which of the following compounds have a magnetic moment identical to chromium H2O whole 6 3 plus? So Cr3 plus meaning, what is the configuration? It is 4s1 3d5, so we would get D3 configuration, right? Correct? 3 of 3 plus would be D3 configuration, correct? Now, so I'm considering that water is a weak field ligand, so the number of electrons, unpaired electrons would be 3, and so your unpaired, so your magnetic moment should come out to be root over of 3 into 3 plus 2, that is 5 into 3, 15, which would be roughly 3.9. So if there are 3 unpaired electrons in any complex, that should match the magnetic moment. So coming to copper H2O whole 6 means copper 2 plus means D9 system. D9 system meaning that there is 1 unpaired electron. So this does not match obviously. Mn3 plus meaning D4 system, weak field. So this gives 4 unpaired electrons, doesn't match again. Then Fe3 plus means D5, weak field, again 5 unpaired electrons, doesn't match. And the last one is Mn4 plus, which means D3, 3 unpaired electrons, matches the answer. So it should be option number D. Clearly option number D. And the last question for today's discussion would be a solution of NaNO3 and zinc dust when treated with A gives ammonia as the product. So the answer would be caustic soda, that is NaOH. So the answer would be NaNO3 plus zinc dust plus caustic NaOH would be giving us ammonia. You need to balance the equation, I'm not balancing it, plus sodium zincate plus water. So your answer would be A, caustic soda. So that brings us to the end of our discussion of certain questions of 1 marks which came in today's exam. The next half of the questions I will be discussing in the next video. So stay tuned to the channel, and I hope the solution was beneficial to you. If any solution was not understood or if there is some other approach, then let me know. we can discuss that in the comment section or in our next video. Thank you for watching, and I hope most of you have got all the answers correct. So keep watching and